Hi everyone, how you doing? Today I'm going to mix another Hindley Street Country Club track. It's an Alicia Keys cover, If I Ain't Got You, sang by Pina Del Rey. And it has quite a few moving parts in it. It's a slower, softer song, so it's got a lot of dynamics. It's the kit, Ben Todd on kit, so kick, snare, rack with 2 floors. Overheads, I think it's Ben Todd. Overheads are 2 condensers. They are NT5s, Rode NT5s, Australian microphones. We have 4 mics on the percussion, a couple of Beta 57s, I'd say, on the skins, on the congas, and a couple of NT5s as, you know, sort of a stereo pair, getting stuff like Bell Tree and things like that. The bass is coming out directly out of Con's new Laney Nexus head, which is fantastic, by the way. And the guitar is through, that'll be a 57 pointing at the new Laney guitar amp. Keys, my piano through the Korg is coming through in a stereo DI. Strings coming through from Dave's Kronos stereo DI. Our vocals are recorded. These are dynamic microphones, the Sennheiser, I think the wireless 935s or 945s, around that. So I think that's the right model. I'm sorry if I've got that wrong. And this is recorded live at AJS, Lighting and Productions. So, which has been helping us out using their warehouse instead of my little studio here. So, South Australia has got very sort of relaxed restrictions here. We don't have many cases. I think currently might have a couple, and they are people who are in quarantine who have just come back from overseas. So, things are pretty free and easy here. We have gigs and bands, and people can sit down and drink alcohol during, with their 1.5 meters away from each other in a venue, which means that a lot of people can go to venues. You can't dance at the moment unless you're at a wedding. So, but, hey, look, things are looking really great for us. And for those out there whose things, your restrictions aren't looking so great, we feel for you guys, and we hope that things are going to get better real soon. And let's hope that, look, you're on YouTube watching one of my videos. Hopefully this is going to kill a bit of time, and you can learn something, and, this will take some good time up, right, in your life. So, moving right along, I'm going to, this is the last take, by the way, of many, so I've just separated all the rest of the takes. I think there was 3 main takes to choose from. The last one was really great. And I'm going to grab the iPhone, the last iPhone video, and just drag it into the session. Open the movie and extract the audio track. Now we are running on 2496, so this is on 96. So I'm going to extract the audio from the iPhone. It will come in as a 96K file, even though it wasn't. And I'm going to line up the audio on the camera. I'm just going to press solo and just listen to the camera audio. So that's the beginning of the piano right there. So let's just move this a little closer to there. Find the position of our piano start. Where's our keyboards? Keyboards are there. So these guys here, we'll just find the beginning of those. And we'll just put that right on there. And this is how you do it. So you grab, not the audio, but you grab the video, the movie itself, and drag it. I'm just going to move that. So that's what the iPhone heard, and probably that's got a little bit of a... I do have some monitoring on during the recording. So that's, by the time the distance, the sound goes from that little monitor to the iPhone, that's it. So I will expect to move this a little, but that's pretty well it. I'll just mute the audio from the camera now. only things that are panned right now are just keyboard tracks, so I'll just go on with a bit of vocals. Some people live for fortune. This looks like the audio's, the video's coming a little early. So I'm just going to zoom in. Now this is just moving its frames. Move one frame. Some people live just for the fame. That's Mark Meyer on drums, by the way. Some people live for the power. Okay, that looks about in sync. So if you're using video, especially for those guys who are watching these videos just trying to work out how to do this with their own band. This is an iPhone. We shoot with two iPhones. That's Patter McBride from Smack On Content. Go and give his page a like, a sub too. He's a really cool guy. Lots of behind the scenes stuff for the band as well. So now he's shooting on an iPhone 11 and an iPhone 7 as camera 2. Using a DJI Osmo Mobile 2 gimbal. Now this is a little bit long and skinny. It's a 4K anamorphic lens that he's bought for the iPhone. So it's got a custom case. The lens pops in there and it brings all of the pixels. It decodes all of the pixels from a normal 4K shoot down into this 3840 by 1635 or so, you know, stretched. So there's no curves like a GoPro wide, and it's not like a wide lens on a camera that gives you those curves or anything. This is it goes wide and then shrinks all the top and the bottom, you know, pixels, pushes them out. It gives you a lovely wide shot, very cinematic, and you know, plus because we've got so many players, sometimes it's very good. And he's up close, so he can get quite wide. In this room in the studio, he can just stand behind my console here, and while the band is playing, and be able to shoot with his gimbal and get everyone in the room. That's very difficult to do with a camera that's not with an anamorphic lens. Now the colors on this are natural. I mean, they are as the video is shot. That's raw. I haven't color graded them. He uses an app called Filmic Pro, Filmic, Filmic Pro. In Australian dollars is about 23 bucks. It's definitely worth getting, so you can lock off the white balance, you know, color your shot, lock off your white balance and lock off the autofocus and stop your phone from continuously trying to focus. So it really turns your iPhone into a very professional looking camera. So it's well worth doing it if that's what you're going to do. Filmic Pro. All right, on with the video. Now I've got that there just so I can pan things correctly and stuff like that. So I have put things in groups. So I've got the kick. I'm just pressing S to solo these. So now you can hear there's a lot of bleed in the bass. It's a beautiful kick, but still got a fair bit of... So what I would normally do is I would just trigger it. This time, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to mix the kick for real. I know it's got some notes in there. I'm going to go to my VMR Slate and let's just trim a few things down here. A couple of trimmers, an EQ. All right. I'm going to start with a gate. Gates on these are just fantastic. So, especially because you can trigger using a bottom, if you're triggering a snare or a tom, you can pull the top end detection way down and it doesn't hear higher things. It doesn't open the gate for them. It only opens when it feels enough bottom energy. So, you know, the detection filters are really, really fantastic. So that can really make a big difference. I mean, kick is pretty easy. I want to make sure that I'm getting all of those little things. That's pretty good. Now the kick still needs a lot of EQing. I'm going to do a lot of it through the infinity EQ. Let me just pop that before. So I'm just dragging it to swap the positions. So I go EQ first. I'm going to just get rid of the VMR for a second. Just have a listen to a few EQs in here. Now 100 Hertz, around the 100 Hertz mark is where my bass is. I do want some kick in here, but I don't want it to be dominating the 100 Hertz area. I do want my 63 Hertz push. 63. I want to make sure that I've got a punch there. Now this one down here below, I think it shouldn't really be dominating. So I'm going to move it. I'm going to try and dissipate the low kick there. And I'm going to make this one here, the 63, I want it to be the dominant push, the body blow. Okay, there's no snap right now, so I'm going to get that. Now, different kicks, different mics. I'm only using a single mic. This is I think it's a Beta 52 Shure. They're a very good microphone. I think, there are great kick mics out there. This one here is still outside the kick. So, in the studio, I would put one inside to get the snap from the Beta and one outside to get me a doof. But in here, I've just got one mic. All of that stuff in between that you can hear bass, we're going to gate out. So, but I still want some snap. Now have a listen to the difference in a high snap. I don't quite mind that, but really where your main snap is between 2 and 3K. That's really where your kick drum wants to snap. I could sort of bring that down to an exact fave using my monitors. That's a fair bit. I'm really adding a lot here just to find the frequency. Just a little bit of a... My old ears are probably going to drop off at about 12K anyway. But I'm thinking that I still add some air over here, just a little. Now, let's put the gate back on. I definitely want that quick release. My spoodle is adding to the audio. It's not bad. It could do with a little bit of punch. I'm going to put on the bomber, and I'm going to go to fat punch. Yes. That release, just push it a little bit, give it a little bit more. A little bit of, I don't mind that little bit of bleed from them. I sort of like the way that this is set now. So that's the gate I'm talking about. Still needs a little bit of EQing in there. My little Neve. Okay, pull out a little bit of that low mids around that oh. You know, you don't really want any of that stuff in there. I'm going to pull it out. Smiley face EQ. And right at the end, I'm going to put an L2, L3, just a limiter to babysit that track. let's have a listen to it before. It's pretty good. Got a beautiful note, that kick. That's a Cadison drum kit. Fantastic. Look, I can, now it's fairly controlled, so I can always add more beef or tap to it anyway. So let's have a listen to the snare. Beautiful little ghosties here. So let's just go to the EQ for a start. I do want to just add some top just to bring out some of those ghosties. There is some problems in the middle here, so we've got a lot of rim shot playing. I'll just make sure that I'm playing snare during this part. So you can see my Infinity EQ from Slate's showing me all of the answers. There's one right here. Let's just go crazy here. There's another one here. Now these are the harmonic pushes inside the snare from the 57 mic. Now look, I think this actually might not be a 57. This is probably an E914 Sennheiser, I think, perhaps. But I'm pulling out some of these because I just don't want them to dominate the snare sound. Because the overheads are still going to have a little bit of that in it anyway. I'm not going to take out 200-ish, you know, like where your big push is here. I like that. As long as it doesn't go doom nice and, you know, too long, I'll probably EQ it out then, but I like the hit of it. And I'm probably going to actually add beautiful. I'm going to not gate this sucker. I'm going to leave it because all the ghosties in there. I'm going to, in fact, add a little bit of extra limiting. So I'm not going to compress it up. I'm going to limit it up. So by adding, you know, another 4 or 5 dB, just like that. Now that does change the EQ sound. I'm going to put another one because the Infinity EQ, you can really run tons of these. There are hardly any weight on your DSP, and you know latency is just about non-existent. So the limiter still bringing out that sort of okay, I'm loving it, loving it. That's really, really good. The only thing about the snare is it has no three-dimensional value. So, you know, I would want to, I would want to put 2 different reverbs on this. One, the long reverb that I'm going to use for the whole band, and another one that would be a very, very short one. If you are a Logic user, you'll probably notice when you open up the Logic kit, the drummer gives you 2, it loads up to a small and a large room reverb. That's the thinking behind this. So I'm just going to create a bus. I'm going to call this snare verb. This is only going to be a very, very small verb. So it's going to come in a mono signal. Just going to give it some. And I'm just going to add this to the snare to give it a little bit of like it's the size of a snare, because I'm only using one mic and I want it to sound like there's multiples on there. It's a really cool trick. So I could go for the Space Designer. That'll give me one result. I am going to try the flick it to stereo, and I'm going to try the Slate Verb Suite because there's a few, you know, a lot of people use these for long verbs, but this has some really good ambient settings. Okay, so I'm going to go to 2016 very short plates. Let's keep going really. Let me increase that. Oh, there's a great one. Look at that, CLA room. Now I can push the width. Be careful with this button, with this knob here. If you push this on overheads using on your main reverb, you can really create a lot of phase problems. It's very, very wide. Just be sparingly. Don't push it too wide. Just, you know, I probably wouldn't go past 3 o'clock on it myself. Chorus might add a bit of slight little character there. I don't mind that. And remember, you know, you still have some EQ here. I think that's pretty good. So just enough to give me my snare a little bit, you know. So if I was going to add another reverb, just let's just pop one up here and call this the main verb. So this is going to be the main verb that everyone's going to share, so that everyone sounds like they're in the same space. And I'll grab another one, a verb suite, and set it on a plate. You know, even the default's pretty good. I'll just add it in here. Sounds pretty good. I'll probably change that setting later. It's just a little bit of a reverb on there. So that's kick, snare. Now I'm going to gate these suckers by listening to these. These are really easy to mix, especially when you got Slate gear. The virtual mix rack just has some amazing settings for these guys. This is a rack tom. I just hit the middle here. Go to drums, choose rack tom, and I'll go down and add, my dog wants to be part of the session today. He is being part of the session by the sounds. And I'll add a gate, a drum gate. So I'm going to make sure it only triggers with a low. It's a little bit too much. I want to make sure all these guys pop through. So I will give them a little bit of a push with a limiter, just to bring the smaller ones up to the gate, so they're going to pop through that gate. So I know I can sort of. It's got a little bit of mid-range rumble that I might just pop out, get rid of, using the Neve EQ here. Just a little bit of tops, pull out that sort of low mid stuff. Make sure I'm getting all of those. Okay. Now we've got, I'm going to pan these around so I know that they're all going to, so let's just do a copy, or, you know, the same key command that you would use by grabbing the top of the settings thing and going copy channel strip setting. I'm going to paste it to the first floor, except I'm just going to change the virtual mix rack setting a little bit because of floor toms. Oh, look, that sounds fantastic. It's got a little bit of a, the gate needs to be pushed up a little bit, but wow, that's just beautiful. Let's paste it onto the next one as well. Have a listen to that guy. Fantastic. It's probably, if anything, it's a little bit toppy. Needs a bit of bottom, and make sure that I've got Okay. Let's pan these guys around. We know that according to the video, our rack is a little to that side, floor's this side, and that one will be hard. So we're up to overheads now. Let's figure out which is which. I've got them panned here. So we'll just grab the... Yeah, so I can hear those off to the left. I know I've got those panned correctly. I haven't got them panned right out wide. I just don't want to have phase issues. Let's grab a snare and line up these guys. So I'm going to just find the beginning of your snare hit, the transient there, and I'm going to, because these guys aren't locked together or anything, and I'm just going to hold my control key and I'm going to slip them back to the snare. Now have a look at the shapes that are happening here, and you don't want things to go to flip out of phase around each other. I want to make sure that, you know, I'm getting pretty close. I've got a zero crossing here as well. I probably would be better off putting that there. So see what I'm doing here? I'm just trying to keep these guys, the two overheads, in phase with the snares. So they're basically, I've set them now digitally to exactly the same distance away from the snares. So the sound moves from the snare, hits these guys perfectly. In mono, they shouldn't knock each other out. That's just the two condensers above the kit that we're hearing here, so there's still a lot of stuff going on. I can hear air. A lot of mid-range stuff in there that I really want to get rid of to give me that nice studio sound. So let's, this is a really good spot because it's got ride cymbal in it and some, you know, so if you move from, okay. Let's straight away bus these guys to a bus, call it overs. I will also put them in a group, call them overs. I want to put them in an editing selection and I want to solo them by just a single hit. That means that if I just push one of the faders, they both move up and down together, they're grouped. If I press solo on one of them, etc. So, and if I just touch one or put a bit of automation on it, it applies to both. Anything that's in a stereo pair like that, you should group. We're going to do some EQing now on the EQ. So I've bussed them to their own bus. Let's get a bit of EQ out here and sort this out. I'm not going to use the slamming effect on this one. I'm just going to keep it open. Ooh, look at all of the bottom end down here. Now have a look at the frequencies up here. That's 40 hertz down here. So let me show you what I'm hearing that I want to get rid of straight away. There. So, ooh. And the next one is a little bit above that. Wow. That's without the EQ. And that's with it. A lot of difference, just those two little things. So beautiful addition to the snare there as well. So let's now just solo all of these and play them all together. And this is just the kit. So I've just done them individually. I haven't added them. I'm not trying to mix something with something else going on. Individual mics here. Let's have a listen to what we've got. Let's move along. We definitely want to get these toms into their own bus, so let's just do that. Let's, oops, we'll go bus to here. How much of that dog are you getting in there, in the lapel? It's I can block him out. It's all good. All right, so we put them into their own bus. I am going to do a bit of EQing. Just, they feel to me like they're a little bit midi. They're a little like mid-rangey, not MIDI. Yeah, so. Also going to add a little bit more tops to them. I love it. I'm going to simply just put the main verb on them and have a listen to that. Not really liking that main verb. Let me try a different setting. I'm going to grab the let's see. Probably a little better. The overheads to me could probably do with a little bit of a squash. So on the overs bus, I'm going to, I'll use the VMR because I suppose, you know, a few people have found, different sounds with different compressors in here. I really do like the FG401 for a more gentle approach, especially on vocals. These guys here, the 116s, I like to use them on the master. And for this particular thing, you could use the Monster. I mean, the Distressor one is great too. Wheel A, B, the two. Now, the Monster is basically an 1176 with all in. All of the buttons, it's going full on. So if you were to just bypass this other one over here and have a listen. So that's without. And if you use the Distressor, it tightens it up. I like that. I'm pretty sure that's going to go a lot further. A little bit of the main verb on the overheads as well. Beautiful. We've got a really beautiful sounding kit there now. It sounded pretty plain Jane before. Let's move on to the percussion. First, I'll just take these solos off. Let's have a listen to these guys individually. So we've got some what looks like percussion. Yeah, so this one looks like it's the high. Yes. This one's pretty easy to fix. So I'll just get a bit of EQ on it. So there's a couple of little things. There's a little ping. Still want to preserve some tops. I think that's pretty good. And then we're going to move, so this guy, let's have a look at the video. So it's a little to the right, and the other guy over here is going to be a little to the left. And now these guys here are probably going to be a pair. Let's have a listen to. find the one that's closest to the tambourine. It looks like it's... So this guy here, let's have a look at the tambourine is on his right, my left a little. So I'm just going to push that a little left, that a little right. These guys will be a stereo pair. So I'm just going to, you know, probably just put them in a group. I'll just call them perk for percussion pair. Editing and solo is what I hit. All right. Let's hear just the percussion all together. It's sounding pretty cool. Let's bus them all out to their own bus. And I do have a percussion setting that I put here. So let's just have a look at it. VMR, some EQ. So I'm probably adding too much of the top end. Let's just bring that back, even get rid of that EQ. Bit of percussion, a bit of the blue guy, which I normally put on the master. Okay, so that's just adding some body, slamming it harder, and I've got a chroma verb on there just to a percussion bus. So big percussion room I'm using. Still a very small. I would add a bus from there to the main verb because, you know, you want to just add some of that long verb on there. Now straight away, the boo, you really don't want that to dominate everything. So I'm just going to EQ it out a bit. So this is the total percussion bus. We're hearing it all together. Just like that. Take a bit of that. You won't need much of that bottom end. Look at that top end, that's beautiful. The top end on this pair, I want them to have a longer reverb. I'm going to bus them to another bus first. Just going to call them pair, and I'm going to make sure the output to that bus goes back to the percussion. All right, so they're going to go somewhere first, add some more reverb, then I'm going to add them to the percussion. So in the pair, I'm just going to go to let's see, I would say a Slate digital verb suite. So I'm still listening to everything, but particularly the percussion overheads, they are going to, you know, an actual pair. I might take the bottom end right off them, even brutally with a single band EQ from Logic, you know, and just go bottom end, you know, take it all off. So this is what they're getting. So it's really just going to give me the top end for that, you know. All right, back to drums and percussion all together. Let's have a listen to what we got. Sounds pretty good to me. Let's get the bass in there. Straight away compression. I'm going to add compression before any EQ. Just going to use a Logic compressor. And I'm going to see what our bass guitar, the E-bass, there is a direct bass. Definitely slow attack. Bit of makeup. It doesn't sound real deep, but it's going to be just great. Bass is not the lowest thing in your mix. The kick drum is the lowest thing in your mix. Bass comes, you know, next from there, you know, so you really should make sure that your bass guitar has the right mids in it than just trying to add bass to it because it's called bass. Just because it's called bass, it doesn't always need it. So, but that, through my little tiny Grover nodding, sounds great. You know, they don't give me much over below 125, so. I noticed my my stereo out's popping a little bit here. I'll make sure that I've got a babysitting limiter on it. I'll just choose, say, an L3 Ultra, and I'll put a Slate VMR in stereo behind it, and I'll just drop out the. I do have a master trimmed right back. Say -6, you know. Switch off a few things and nothing else has really been used there. Just the trim in, trim out. Won't even need that. All right, so that's just basically just giving me 6 dB of forgiveness on the master. Okay, guitar. This is just a mic'd up amp. There is a solo in it. And here's a little bit to the left. Not much to do with this. Close to the 1K, you might want to push out. Add a little bit of bottom. Slice off the real ultra low. And slice off everything above 6K. Maybe 7. There's probably one there that you can give a little bit of nose lane. Okay, straight away, when he's going, I think a little bit of delay there would be fantastic. Let's pop one in. So I just ascend, call it delay. I'm thinking like a but, you know, fairly quick one. Let's make it mono. So let's go to the delays inside. Evenness, just a straight echo is fine. Da. I think that's pretty cool. A little bit more feedback, perhaps. I got away with it. That's running at 120 beats a minute, and that's actually locked to note. So if I want something that's not going to be a little bit more flexible on time, I'd have to change that to something like a tape delay, where I can kick off the tempo sync, switch it off. So, you know, let's give that a go. Yes, we're still grabbing. So. I'm pretty sure I like the other one better. It's just, it actually worked quite well. Instantly, it's just got lucky. I like it. I think, you know, if you had a delay pedal, I reckon that's probably where you want it. Let's get back to that guy. Keys, we have these guys here. This is my piano. Digital pianos. We always do a little bit of EQing here, of course. So well, for one, we'll group them so that we can select them as stuff. I'll just call it piano. And so I'll make sure it's editing and solo. Then I will bus them to their own bus. Because it's 2 tracks, I want to EQ them as one. Piano, let's just open a normal EQ and just have a look. There it is. That little ring. Oh, 2K, please take it out. What's really going to make this is the reverb I put on it as well. You want a little bit of the mid, you know, right in the center taken out too, I reckon. Just to make some room for a vocal. A little. Let's put the main verb on it first and see how that sounds. There's still something wrong with that. I'm just going to add a different EQ. I can hear something. If you have an upright at home or a grand piano or something that's not quite in tune and you've done some recording and love the tone but you just wish that you didn't hear that it was slightly out of tune, is a really very cool trick. Knock off all the top end from, you know, like I'm talking, put a filter on it and drop it back so you don't hear anything from 8K, 6K even. Bring it right back and all of those harmonics of the stuff that is slightly out of tune will disappear. And the opposite applies if you want your piano to be more honky-tonk. Bring in some of those high mids and highs and they will expose any tuning issues in the piano. So, yeah. Of course, digital ones are always a little bit too perfect, but, you know, it certainly is easier to set up my Korg than it is to set up a grand piano and mic it up. So, next is the keys pair from Dave, which is strings. Let's just find those. Here they are. Okay, so these guys are going to want to go to their own bus. This is pretty simple. Strings. I'm going to want to cut out the barkiness of those cellos. I like that. And I'm going to want to, I'm not going to actually send, I'm going to insert a reverb. I'm going to do a chrome reverb and use the orchestral chamber. Absolutely does the job for you. Okay, so we've basically done the whole band now minus vocals. We're getting there. Let's have a look, have a listen. Strings are maybe a bit loud. Touch. I'm going to add something to the guitars, to the guitar track. I'm just going to add I just want a simple thing like a bomber, FG bomber. FG bomber is something that'll just poke it out, make it fatter, tighter. I'm just going to keep it on present and I'm going to poke it out so it just pokes out those little present bits. It's like a compressor and a tonal compressor. Lovely. There is a solo as well over here, so let's just hear that. I'll just duplicate that track, so I'll just go track, new track with duplicate setting, so it's exactly the same settings, and I'll slice out that solo. Find the end. Drag that over to here, pop it to the center. Going to have some long reverb saturated on it as well. Set its volume to the same as where I've got the vocals. When the vocals are really powering in the chorus, I'll set them both to the same sort of volume. So your solo should be what your main vocal is. Okay, let's move on to Pina on vocals. Let's see. So I haven't done any triggering on the drums. None! It sounds really nice and natural and punchy. Starting with a VMR, I'm just going to give her, I do have a vocal setting, or used to. Before I had to put everything back, pop vocals 1.
Some people live for the fortune.
I'm going to make sure I might even just start from scratch here. What I would do, start with a trimmer, give me my gain.
Some people live just for the fame. Some people live for the power.
Wondering why that wasn't working.
Some people live just to play the game.
A little bit of airy cue here.
Some people think
Lift.
that the physical things define
Even better, some air
what's within.
and some earth.
I've been there before, but that life's so
My favourite rim compressor, vocals.
full of the superficial. Some people want it all. I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings. Some just want everything, and everything means nothing if I ain't got you. Yeah. Some people search for a fountain. The promise is forever young.
Another, I still think that there should probably be another babysitter compressor or limiter on her to make sure she doesn't pop over.
Some people need 3 dozen roses. That's the only way to prove you love them. Hand me the world on a silver platter, and what good would it be with no one to share and no one who truly cares for me?
Playing around with these so you can have a listen here what this has done. You dial these in a lot. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it's doing much, but really gives you a different sense of the proximity, whether they're using an actual dynamic microphone or a large diaphragm condenser.
Some people want it all. I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings. Some just want everything, and everything means nothing if I ain't got you, yeah. Some people want it all.
Got that sort of pumping compressor thing happening, so I've obviously got the threshold back. You only want 3 dB gain, about that.
Want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings. Some just want everything, and everything means nothing if I ain't got you. Some people want it all. I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby. If I
A lot of bleed in that microphone. It's a bit of snare. I don't think I want to gate it out.
ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings. Some just want everything. Everything means nothing
That's hitting hard. That limiter's getting it hard.
if I ain't got you.
So I've designed it to push hard at the beginning, adding some even more preamp with the FG76. So I'm adding more preamp gain again through these EQs onto the compressor, so it's pumpy, gives me that up close sort of intimacy, and then it's still heading out there hard.
I'm just want everything. Everything means nothing if I ain't got you.
And this is your knob right here that's controlling that push to the next limiter, the L2.
I'm just want everything mean nothing if I ain't got.
Let's put these other guys in. We'll figure out who's who. So that's me on the left. Let's put Dusty's vocal on the right just to balance it out a bit. Some people want diamond rings. Let's put us together. Dusty, Darren, both, and we'll call them the Beavers, the BVs. Let's EQ them a little bit together. Just want everything means nothing. Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. Okay, then we'll just use a compressor. I don't really want much to change the tone. I like the Renaissance compressor. If it ain't you, baby, if I got to, babe. Some people want diamond rings. Some just want everything means nothing. I think that's pretty good. If anything, a reverb. Let's go to the chroma verb, put on the dirty chamber. Dirty chamber. Want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby. That sounds pretty good. Dave's in there as well. On a little bit of a ooze, adding him through. All right, let's hear it all together.
If I ain't got you, babe, on a silver platter, and what good would it be with no one to share and no one who truly cares for me? Some people nothing at all if it ain't you, baby. If I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings. Some just want everything, and everything means nothing if I ain't got you, yeah. Some people want.
The vocals are a little bit too big, so I'm gonna pull them back. Just a touch, just in that.
Want everything, and everything means nothing if I ain't got you, yeah. Some people.
See, my compressors are really doing the work for me. I don't have to automate the crap out of everything. I would probably go back to the verses and lift them back to zero.
I've been there before, but that life's a bore. So full of the superficial. Some people want everything, and everything means nothing if I ain't got you, yeah. Some people search for a fountain, promises forever young. Some people search for a fountain, promises forever.
So I'm just going to visually know that, you know, there's some lines in here that need to be pushed up more than others. So, you know, this one needs to be pushed up. That one there's going to need a little bit of a push.
That's the only way to prove you love them. Hand me the world.
probably just drop her down during that, just so I got less ambient.
Some people think that the physical things define superficial. Some people want it all. I don't want nothing at all. Means nothing if I ain't got you.
Backing vocal action here where I could probably slice out. It's because it's adding ambience, so I know that there's a bus attached. When I touch one of these, I know it's going to this BV bus here, so I can just right mouse on it and go create track, and it just drops the BV bus behind. So I'll just put the little markers where I want it in and out, just like that. And I'll just drop it out where I don't need it. Right, let's set that guitar solo.
I got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything. Everything mean nothing if I ain't got you.
I'm going to choose a different delay. If anything, I might even add another. Yeah. I'm going to use a delay, tape delay on this one. No sync. Dial in a little bit of that echo on her track as well. So that's this one here at 11, long delay, and I'll just go to her automation track, change it from volume to main to where the send is, and I'll just add it right there.
I ain't got you.
Right there.
I ain't got you.
Maybe touch it.
I ain't got you. Nothing in this.
Just put a touch of that on for the whole track, except for the solo bit. Just a touch of that on all the way. I'd sort of like a little tiny bit of that delay on a...
In you, baby, if I Some people live for the fortune. Some people live just for the fame.
Just a little bit, just a little touch. The backing vocals hopefully are still...
With no one to share and no one who truly cares for me. Some people, I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you.
Dusty's a bit heavy on his ooze. I'll bring his ooze down on that side.
I've been there before, and that life's a bore. Hand me the world on a silver platter, and what good would it be?
Same.
I've been there before, and that life's a bore. So full of the superficial. Some people want it all. I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings. Some just want everything.
I think that sounded really fantastic. So of course, the master, I'm just going to make sure I've got all of it from the beginning correct to the end.
If I ain't got you.
That's it there. So I've got enough reverbs, tails to keep that going. Just make sure I've got them all selected and choose fade out. Notice all of them, fades all appear on all of them. You don't have any expletives from Con telling me that I've played a wrong chord or something, yelling at me. So he doesn't yell at me, he doesn't. All right, let's select our area here. I'm going to make sure that her vocal mic doesn't come in until that point. The backing vocals are already turned down. Just going to make sure that her vocals doesn't come in until then. Just there's a little bit of a breath or into something at the beginning. Maybe even have the piano dominate that intro. Let's just go piano here and add a track, and just know there's your main one there, so push it up.
For the fortune.
Okay, there's probably a few little tiny things we'll go through that I could go through and just to tweak and curve, but I'm basically there. So I would bounce this. I'll do that now. 24-bit 96. And I will show you. So if I got you 1 in the bounce folder, and I'll show you the mastering process. As simple as that is, while I just log in. Keep me logged in. I hope that's going to be right. So I use Lander, landr.com left and right, L and R. And these guys here do the mastering. So the setting that I set it at is mastering settings, balanced, medium. And I just grab the track, and when that's finished bouncing, I'll just go bam. That will upload that sucker straight to the process, and I'll wait 5 minutes or so, and it'll come back, and I'll tweak the EQ a little. As you can see in here, last week I was doing Maneater, and the different versions that are there, and if you leave me now so you can see how many versions I'm popping through this thing. What a fool believes. F meaning final, F3, final 3, final. You know how it is. That's a bit of a joke. I'm so excited. So you can see I'm running a few versions in here until I'm happy with what I'm getting. So I basically can open it up. That's my mix. And the very first version of that probably didn't sound much at all compared to that. So those little tiny tweaks take some time. And a lot of that is the collaboration with Con as well. So Con and I can't always be in the studio at the same time. So I will throw to Con to have I'll send him my mix from the mastering, and he can tell me what he thinks is from his rig as well. I might lift up vocals, make sure that that little line that's played there is pushed up, things that I might miss. So in this is just done now, if I ain't got you. So this sends this up to over to the States, to you guys in the States, and it uploads it to the library up to the Lander site and their servers, and an algorithm is applied. I've used this for a long time, and I know how it works. I don't know how it works, actually. I don't know exactly how it works at all. I know there's a bunch of algorithms that are applied, but I have changed my mixing to suit this. Right, and I know that what they give back is not exactly what I want, but it's pretty close. And I know how to manipulate my mixes now as a good pre-master. As an engineer, you want to be a guy who sends a mastering engineer a file that he's going to like. Right, a mastering engineer wants to hear your mix and go, this guy's good. He knows what he's doing. He's got separation. There's no phase issues. It's nothing, things are up front, it's not too wet in the reverb, he knows what he's doing, and I can really do something with this. You don't give him something that's overslammed. Obviously, in a track like What a Fool Believes, in the master, I will want to apply a nice, fatten, a blue F16116, I think I use, in just an extra compressor to sponge it and fatten it even more before it goes to mastering, because I want that body in it. I don't want it louder with hardness. I just want it fatter if I want it to be, less dynamic for the mastering guy. So, in the end, you really do want to get something like this. Subscribe to a real professional mastering engineers are very, very important, and we do need those guys to do our records. This here is because I'm just making YouTube videos for you guys, right? And it's, I have to pop out one every week, and it would become very, very expensive for me to use a professional mastering engineer. So what I would, this is a learning tool. If you subscribe to Lander, even get the unlimited MP3s option, you can send, you put your things into it and you learn what you're doing wrong. You look at the mix back and it's all slammed and distorted. You're obviously giving it too much. You can see the gain between, my mix and the master. Look at the gain difference, right? But that's a 2496 file I'm giving that. So, this is just a really good learning tool. Paying for the subscription for this for 1 year will teach you something about the way that you mix. It really will. If you use professional mastering guys, they will thank you for learning better mixing. They really will. They won't have to wrestle your mixes to get a good mix. These things are great learning tools. They weren't always around, and this really cuts a lot of corners for all of us. I don't have a big analog console here, so I'm doing the best with what I've got. And I'm in a very digital world here. I've got a lot of speakers though, and I can A/B towards them. I haven't got any master EQ either on this really much, so there is a few little tweaks. This is version 1. And eventually I'll do those little tiny tweaks in the master and the little tiny things internally. And when I pop it back, it'll probably be If I Ain't Got You version 5 by the time we're all signing off on it. But that'll probably be in about 2 hours time. So I'll leave you now. I hope that you did learn something from this video. Thanks to everyone who has joined the HSCC mix-off competition to mix one of these tracks and get the full cred. There's possible millions of views you're going to get. It's really going to lift your profile. Go to theproducernerd.com and sign up. I'll give you the mix, the multi tracks to one of these songs. You mix it. The best mix gets on the track, gets the kudos, gets the worldwide fame out of it. I can't wait to, so far I do have a lot of entries and they're from all around the world. So represent from where you are and, mix one of our tracks. I want to hear you mix this and I want to hear you do it better. I want to learn from you. I hope that you learnt from me or that this video wasn't too boring, geeky, and it was valuable to you. I'm going to sign off now. Thank you for coming along. Please subscribe, hit the bell. Catch you later. See ya.